everyone. This is the Elite Real Estate Leaders Podcast. And in this episode, we sit down with Jennifer Cirka. She is the dynamic broker owner of Greyhound Real Estate. And Greyhound has carved a unique niche in Colorado's real estate landscape, transitioning from a homeschool mom and crochet designer to a top-tier broker. Jennifer is consistently ranked among Mesa County's top 30 brokers since founding her company in 2017. That's pretty amazing. So today, she will share her journey of establishing a full-service brokerage that offers exceptional service, and catch this, without the hefty commission fees typically associated with the real estate transactions. So, Jennifer, welcome to the show. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, let's start out. I'd love to hear stories of entrepreneurs, business owners, how they got into the business, and maybe a little bit of the backstory, where you grew up, things like that, if you want to share with that.
Okay, well, I'm originally from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania,
Mm.
and I moved to the Western Slope in 1996,
Oh,
actually.
nice.
And
Nice.
you know, it was a big change. I was, in my early 20s and didn't know anyone, but I fell in love with the area and just decided to stay here. Um, when I married my husband in 2002 and we had our daughter, I decided to quit my job at the Postal Service and stay home to be a stay-at-home mom.
Wow.
I was lucky enough that my husband had a good job and, we did a lot to make ends meet, but I was able to stay as a stay-at-home mom for 10 years. And while I was doing that, towards the end of the 10 years, I started getting into crochet designing. And I've actually been published in just about every crochet magazine,
Wow.
international and national. Plus, I've written a couple books.
A couple of books. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, let's give the books a plug. What are the names?
Man, that was years ago. You make me think. It was hats. It was a hat book.
Okay. All right.
It's on
Well, just
Amazon. If you search my name on Amazon, you'll see them.
Jennifer Cirka, Cirka, for those that are listening.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
And
well, that's awesome. Yeah, I moved to Colorado in 91. So much like you, I came from California to kind of check out Colorado and I got stuck here. So in a good
yeah,
way.
yeah, exactly. And
Yep.
then, towards the end of the 10 years, my husband actually has a hereditary form of muscular dystrophy,
Mm,
and it was progressing. So we knew he wasn't going to be able to work much more. So I needed to find something that would, support my family.
yeah.
Um, so I had always loved houses. I did architectural drafting all through high school years and years and years and years ago. And I thought, what about real estate? And it was nice because it's a pretty low cost thing to get into,
Yep.
but it's a very competitive thing. And I quickly realized after getting into it that doing what everybody else was doing was not going to feed my family.
Yeah, we're going to talk about some of those things that make you special and different. But you're right. There's a lot of people that jump into real estate, low barrier to entry, and then they're out within a year or two. So you've been doing this quite a while, and so I
Yeah.
want to hear more about that story. But first, I'm curious. I think I know the answer because I know you have rescued Greyhound and have them. But how did you pick the name for your real estate office?
Well, yes, I had two Greyhound dogs. Unfortunately, they both, crossed over the Rainbow Bridge by now.
Yeah,
And
sorry,
due to the racing that they used to do, at one time, Greyhounds were the most popular breed of dog.
I
There
didn't know
was the
that.
most, yeah, because there were just so many of them.
Yeah.
And and then they are also a very different breed of dogs. They're almost like big cats that can
Hmm,
run really fast for a short amount of time.
sure.
But they also have like a lot of uniqueness to them. They have like they're universal donors for other dogs. They
I did not know that.
Yeah, and their blood tests always come back differently. So you need to make sure that you have a vet that's familiar with the Greyhound breed. And
Hmm.
so, I just thought, Greyhound breed is a pretty different breed than most people are used to. And, Greyhound real estate is going to be a little bit different than what everybody else was used to.
I love that. I love it. I love the attachment to your dogs and making it special, like you said about the
Yeah.
greyhounds. Um, when I was researching you and everything, I found out some really cool stuff. Mesa County, for those that don't know, that's on the western slope of Colorado. But you have consistently ranked in the top 30 brokers there in Mesa County every year or year after year. What do you believe sets Greyhound Real Estate apart from the competition, especially you're focused on a lower fee schedule, but still provide full service? So talk to me about that a little bit.
It really comes down to the value. I'm still
Hmm.
working hard for my clients and I just don't cut corners. I'm going to do for them everything that anybody else is going to do for them, sometimes even more. But I know how to keep my costs down. I
Hmm.
know what it takes to get homes sold. And, so I can streamline everything and not have to pay for, expensive things that aren't needed for marketing purposes, for example.
Sure.
And then also word of mouth has been huge. Last year, half of my business was either past clients, repeat clients, or referrals from past clients.
That speaks volumes right there, right?
Yeah, yes,
If people didn't trust you, like you, appreciate what you were doing, and they just don't refer. I've seen
exactly.
that many, many times. What do they say? Somebody that's negative will tell five times or five people, and people that are positive may tell one.
Hmm.
Or I forget the exact math, but you guys get the point.
Yeah,
It's tough to get referrals, unless you're really doing something exceptional. So that's fantastic. Um, how many are on the team there with Greyhound?
I have 3 brokers underneath me.
Okay.
Um, yeah, and I'm always looking to add more.
Yeah. So if you're on the western slope, or could they even be on the front range, or how does that work?
It
If you're
probably could. We'd have
okay,
to sit down and discuss it.
okay, but
Mhm.
if you're on the western slope for sure,
Yep.
you're just south of the office is south of Grand Junction there, right?
Yep. And
Yeah,
for all intents and purposes, I'm in Grand Junction. The Whitewater is just a little tiny blip next to Grand Junction.
sure. Yep, it's a beautiful area out there.
Yeah.
So year after year, you've been in the top 30 brokers in Mesa. There's a ton of brokers out there. What else is keeping you at the top of the list? Obviously referrals. You've mentioned
Hmm.
marketing. Do you do anything unique there in the marketing?
I've got my own twist on things that everybody
Hmm.
else does. Instead of flyers, I put a sign up with a QR code that takes people to
That's smart.
designated
Yep.
websites. And but I'm still going to do open houses, and if I can, I'll send
Part of the full
flyers to
service.
them. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'll send things to neighbors, and I'm just talking to people and getting to know all the neighborhoods. And I've been here long enough that even though I'm not a native, I'm pretty familiar with the areas and can help people when they purchase homes too.
yeah, close enough.
Yeah,
30 years.
yeah.
There's not many people in Colorado that can say that. Uh, lots of transplants.
Hmm.
So your journey was from a homeschool mom and then the crochet designer, like you talked about,
Hmm.
to just, being one of the top brokers. That's inspiring to me. So what was the turning point that led you to start your real estate company? I think you kind of gave a little bit of a glimpse into that with your family's health situation and all, but talk to us about that a little bit more.
That was the main thing. It was, I wasn't making money charging the same thing as everybody else and with the limitations of the big brokerage offices that I was with.
Hmm.
And so I had switched over to a smaller office that did allow me a little bit more flex in what I charged. And I was there for about 6 months until I hate to say it, but I ran into a crazy client. Um,
I usually ask, what's your craziest client? So why don't we jump into that right now?
and she I later found out she did have a traumatic brain injury.
Okay.
So, but she, would love me one day and scream at me the next day. And
That's tough.
eventually called the head office and told them what I was doing. And the office said, no, you can't do that. And I was like, well, I said this is what I was going to do when I started here, and you guys gave me a permission and you helped me write the contracts. So we kind of had a falling out.
Right. I mean, they knew, but I guess, they didn't want to admit it or
Yeah,
acknowledge it, right?
exactly. So then I was
Yeah.
like, well, yeah, guess it's time to go on my own. So, I mean, it was a quick thing. I mean, I did it within like a month, you know, it was a huge leap of faith.
Yeah, probably pretty scary, right? Trying to,
Exactly. Yeah.
have to, for me, from just being a doer in the business to owning the business and then starting to think about buildings and telephone systems and all the other things. So, yeah, it probably was a lot. It was a
Mhm.
pretty amazing jump.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And I'm a very detail oriented, control freak type of person. So actually it kind of worked out well.
Yeah. So she was screaming and yelling at you one time and happy your friend the next day.
Yeah.
So what about the flip side of that? Which one of your favorite clients? Unless we don't have to talk about names, but maybe one of your favorite transactions that you've had
Um,
in the last 7, 8 years.
I've had so many wonderful people I've worked with. One family that comes to mind, and I still talk to her on a regular basis. Her and her husband had 3 children, and were in the process of adopting their third and fourth. So,
Hmm.
so that's like they had at the end of the transaction, they had 4 adopted children and
Wow.
three birth
Yeah.
children. The 4 adopted children were all international adoptions, and all of them were either in wheelchairs or just had major physical issues.
Yeah.
And so I had to find them a house big enough for all of them, plus the wheelchairs, and make it happen for them. And we
And
did.
make it accessible and all right. Ramps,
Exactly. Yeah.
doorways that are open or large
Yeah,
enough to
wide
get
enough
those.
doorways. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, wow, what a great story. What a heart for somebody to adopt, but then adopt, folks that are in wheelchairs and all. That's amazing.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Since then, one of the babies had passed away. I
Oh,
went to the funeral. That was devastating.
sure.
Yeah, but yeah, and then I also helped them purchase some land a couple years later up on the Mesa for them to go on, camping trips and stuff. So,
Nice.
yeah.
That's got to be great for those kids.
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
know. I don't know what environment they came from, but generally when you're being adopted, it's not a good environment. And,
Exactly.
to have a family willing to bring you in and then buy land to go camp and everything. That's outstanding. Um, how many houses did you have to look at to find something for them?
Oh man, surprisingly, I don't think it was that many.
Yeah.
I would guess 10 or less, but this was years and years ago.
Yeah. Um, so another question we were talking about kicking around a little bit was you've built a reputation for helping both buyers and sellers,
Mhm.
saving money without sacrificing service. So how do you structure that, and what kind of reaction do you get from clients when they realize what you offer? And maybe let's talk about buyers separately than sellers. I don't know. Do you gravitate towards one or the other, or let's talk about both, whatever's best.
Okay. Well, I am mostly a listing agent.
Okay.
I probably do about 70% of my sales are on the listing side.
Nice. Okay.
Um, you know, People are surprised that there's always been the misconception that, real estate commissions are set fees, and they're
Yep.
not. And so when I tell them what my fee is, they were like, "How can you do that?" Or I didn't know you could do that. And then on the buying side, I'll usually accept whatever the seller is willing to pay me, and anything over what I feel is acceptable, I actually give back to the client to use as part of their closing costs. So I've helped a ton of
That's
first-time
amazing.
home buyers, with their closing costs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. There may not have been that lawsuit with the NAR or NAR if everybody had been following your practices.
All right. Yeah. And it's just, yeah, like I said, most people just didn't realize that, they were flexible. And then when people do find me or learn about me, they'd be like, "Oh, I wish I would have known about you before."
Well, and as you said several times, you're not sacrificing, you're not cutting things out, to give them kind of, a cut rate deal.
Oh, no, not at all.
Still full
My buyers,
service. Yeah.
Yeah, my buyers love it because with me being such a listing oriented agent, I know what sellers want to see in their offers. And I
Hmm.
know how the seller is going to react to their offers. So I can advise them to make the best offer possible to get the outcome they want.
Yeah, that's a key point to make because you've done so many transactions.
Hmm.
Understanding human behavior, motivators, when you structure that agreement, I think a lot of people don't realize how invaluable your service is by having all that experience there. I mean, most people buy what, 2 to 5 houses in their lives, something like that. And
Yeah.
you're doing, how many transactions in a year? A lot.
Yep.
So, um, yeah, that's invaluable service. I've heard a lot of people say, well, I can do a FISBO or, if I want to sell it myself or whatever, but they just don't realize what they're missing out. And then the buyers, not only that, but you have insight into the community there for 30 years, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Um,
yeah, I love it. It's fun and wonderful to help these people. And in the meantime, I'm not here to become a millionaire. I don't live in $1 million house. I drive a 20-year-old car. I'm just here to feed my family when it comes down to it.
sure. And serve your customers. And it sounds
Mhm.
like it served you very well,
Oh, I've been extremely blessed.
yeah, it sounds like it. What do you see in the market on the Western Slope? I'm curious.
Ah,
There's a lot of changes, on the Front Range here. Things seem to be slowing down, but also accelerating in certain markets. So, what are you seeing out there?
yeah, I am seeing inventory pick up a bit, but we're
Okay.
still nowhere near where we should be.
Yep.
And of course, that's keeping our prices high. Our days on market is definitely longer. And buyers are, I'm always advising my buyers to negotiate. Gone are the days when you had to come in at asking price. So
Or higher, right?
or higher, yes.
Yeah.
It's like let's negotiate. Interest rates do play a good part in that. Um, I'm not a lender, but I have some great lender partners I work with. And, honestly, when you talk to a buyer and they say, oh, we'll wait till the rates come down, that's not really the best thing because when the rates go down, we might be back in that multiple offer situation and offering over asking price and waiving contingencies. And
Yeah.
that was not good for buyers.
Yeah. I don't know, and maybe you can speak to this. Um, would my wife and I were looking at some property in Summit County, and it was during that time when everybody was trying to buy and everything was overvalued. And we kind of came to we didn't end up buying after several failed offers, but we felt like, what? We're overpaying by 10 or 15% on the listing. Um, I'd rather have, maybe a little bit higher rate and a better sales price. I don't know if you have perspective on that, or how do you advise your buyers in that situation?
Oh, yeah, pretty much the same way. I mean, I'll give them the two options. I'm like, your payment's probably going to be the same either way, either overpaying with a low interest rate or getting a better deal with a higher interest rate. But the advantage of getting a better deal with a higher interest rate is if rates do come down, you can always,
Bingo.
refinance.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing that you got to understand, folks who are listening, is waiting for rates to come down. I mean, our rates are not that bad compared to the mid 90s.
Oh
Our
yeah, my
rates are
first
still
house
better.
was like 8.5.
Yeah, my first one was 8.5. And that was in 1995. I'm aging myself here, but
We're
um,
about the same age, I think.
yeah, probably. Um, and I think we had that artificial low in those rates for so long, and it changed the mindset of a lot of folks.
Yes.
And I've talked to a lot of people that say, you know what, I'm never going to buy a house unless it's 2% again, so I'll just rent.
Oh,
And I don't know, what is your advice to those people?
well, I mean, I hope you enjoy paying somebody else's mortgage.
Exactly.
You
Yeah. Yeah.
know, equity,
And
I always think of, home ownership as almost a forced savings account. You
mhm,
know, even if you keep it for just 2 years, you're gonna make something as long as you don't let the house go to trash. If
yeah.
you keep up on it, you're gonna make something, and then you can take that equity and move it up to the next step level house for you. And, not very many people can buy their dream house first. You
No.
gotta do it in steps.
Yep.
Yeah, but that's the quickest way to do it.
Yeah, it's very, it's passive investment, growth. Plus you need someplace to live, whether you are renting or buying.
Yeah.
And yeah, there are issues that come up, something breaks or whatever, you got to take care of it. But
No,
you
yeah, I
know,
had to put a new roof on my house last year.
oh, uh, here here in the Front Range, everybody just waits for a hailstorm.
Yeah.
But those days are kind of changing too. Yep. So yeah, so my advice, if you're a renter or whatever and you're in the Western Slope, reach out to Jennifer. Just at least explore. She can give you some valuable advice and probably, 30 minutes, hour
Yeah, exactly.
conversation.
I'm always happy to take any prospective buyer out to coffee and sit down and tell them about the process, have a lender meet with us and tell them about the process and see if it's a good fit for them.
Fantastic. Well, I'm going to wrap things up by handing out your mobile phone number. You had mentioned that you are one of the few that pick up the phone if you have time, and so people can text you or call you, and you'll pick up the mobile, and the mobile is 970-270-5757, or you can go to www.greyhoundrealestate.com and reach out to Jennifer and her team. Jennifer, it was great having you on the show today. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
All right. Well, you take care. Hopefully the weather is out there on the Western Slope is as nice as it is here today. So
It is.
fantastic. Take care. And thank you everyone for listening.
Thank you.